Alrighty, guys, the Defenders Saga rewatch continues on the Access Blockbusters Pod and the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel, and we have finally reached a pretty significant milestone here. We have reached the Defenders. We are going to be talking today, in today's segment, today's podcast, about the Defenders. Now, for some context, for those of you who are new to the channel or haven't heard this spiel before or are joining halfway through, in which case, welcome to the Access Blockbusters Pod. Welcome to the Defenders Saga rewatch, in which I'm actually not rewatching a lot of these projects. I'm watching a lot of them for the first time. Back in, I want to say 2018 or 2019, I watched Daredevil Season 1, Season 2, and then I actually watched The Defenders, and I watched Daredevil Season 3. I tried the first episode of Jessica Jones and just didn't really like it as much, and so I just really wanted to continue on with Daredevil's story because I love Daredevil. He's awesome, and so I did. And I haven't seen any of the other shows, actually. I had only seen Daredevil Season 1, Daredevil Season 2, Defenders, and Daredevil Season 3. So when Daredevil Born Again came out, I thought, let's do a rewatch. Let's do a rewatch of Daredevil's story, and then do a rewatch of Daredevil Born Again. And at some point we will. Probably closer to the release of Daredevil Born Again Season 2. We will. Anyways, that's what we did, right? That's what we were doing. And then I just thought, maybe we should try again. Maybe we should try the Defenders Saga. It was a daunting task. There were so many episodes, so many seasons, but I thought maybe we should give it a try. Lo and behold, as I was watching Jessica Jones Season 1, the news came out that Jessica Jones was going to be returning. And so since then, Punisher's returning in Spider-Man, Punisher's showing up in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and Luke Cage might show. So it all kind of fits together. It all kind of makes sense. And so that's why we're doing this. But for context, like I said, Iron Fist Season 1, Luke Cage Season 1, Jessica Jones Season 1, I haven't seen before. The next one up after this, Punisher Season 1, I haven't seen before. However, this particular segment, is going to be a true rewatch segment. We do a lot of rewatches on the Access Blockbusters Pod. I love doing them. I love that we get to do them on the YouTube channel. We did Infinity Saga, we did Phase 4, we did Star Wars, we did Spider-Man. So it's been really fun. And we're doing Defenders right now. We're doing DCEU as well. Hopefully a couple more of those podcast episodes will be coming out in the fall or in the winter, so look out for those. But anyways, we are doing Defenders today. And, I remember actually quite liking the Defenders when I watched it, even though I had no context for any of the other characters, and I knew who they were, obviously, just based on my general knowledge of the comic book movie and TV show space, but I had no context at all for for their stories within the Defenders Saga. So it's kind of amazing now watching the show because, there are characters like Bakuto that I was like, I get it now. And I kind of thought to myself 6 years ago when you were first watching the show, what were you thinking? Just some random guy, part of the Hand, who's fighting another random person, Colleen, that you didn't know about? Great. But now I actually know what's going on here. So anyways, I remember liking the Defenders. I feel like in the general audience space, the Defenders has not been as well received lately. I don't know if that's a trend because I feel like the reviews were pretty okay, pretty positive. But still, I feel like people these days are like, yeah, the Defenders isn't that good. And I was like, okay, so maybe my mind will be changed after I've seen all five seasons leading up to it, and maybe I'll think differently. And what I'll say is that having rewatched the Defenders, I still enjoy it. Is it perfect? No. Does it compare to the level of Defenders? Of Daredevil Season 1 or 2? No, I don't think so. Does it go to the level of probably any of the other shows? We talked about Luke Cage, Iron Fist, or Jessica Jones. I think no. I think it very comfortably fits in between Daredevil Season 1 and 2 and the rest of the shows. I enjoyed the Defenders. Here's one thing I really like about this, and I know that they changed this shortly after Defenders came out because I know the original order for all of these shows was 13 episodes, and now so we got Punisher Season 1 coming up, and I know Punisher Season 1 is going to be 13 episodes. Some of these shows, right? Luke Cage felt like 2 shows, and Daredevil Season 2. I love Daredevil Season 2. It still had its problems, I think more so than Season 1, and it felt like 2 shows. Iron Fist felt like it dragged at a certain point. The second half of the show really went downhill for me. Some of these shows should not have been 13 episodes long. Defenders, I keep wanting to mix those up. Defenders, 8 episodes, it was snappy. It felt like it moved. It felt like it had a purpose. And I really, really enjoyed that after watching 5 seasons of shows that were all 13 episodes long. This show moved. It had a pacing to it. I really liked the first episodes. I even got a little antsy in the first episode. I was like, okay, let's get going. Let's have them meet each other. In hindsight, though, I kind of like how Daredevil and Jessica Jones kind of paired up at first, and then Luke Cage and Iron Fist paired up at first as well. One of the things about this show, though, that it did expose was I think it really accentuated the things that work about the previous 5 seasons and the things that didn't work about the previous 5 seasons. I think that this show, in particular, this season, really made those things stand out. So number 1, Daredevil. Let's just go through all the characters and their sub-characters and their all those things. Daredevil is awesome. I love Daredevil. I get chills when he shows up in his costume again. He's so amazing. Charlie Cox as Daredevil is great. Elodie Young as Elektra, comic booky, coming back to life, whatever. I mean, it's a Marvel show. It's whatever. She's great. It is very reminiscent. I will say this show came out in 2017. The plot line is a little too reminiscent, I would say, of the Winter Soldier. Whatever. It still works. It still works well enough. I don't know if I love all the dialogue that she and Matt are given, especially towards the end about professing their love to one another and things like that. I don't know. It was fine. But the general storyline of Elektra, great. I thought it was really great. Because honestly, I mean, Sigourney Weaver gives a great performance as Alexandra. What a boring character, honestly. I don't need every single villain in these shows to be all-powerful or have mind control powers or things like that. I don't. I really don't. I did not need Sigourney Weaver to put on a super villain costume and start blasting people. I really didn't. And I appreciate that they didn't do that. But having her just walk around and talk the entire show was getting really old. And right at the point where I was getting really tired of it, she's gone. And Elektra takes over the show. And I was like, okay, finally. So they did understand. Because I totally forgot about that. I almost wondered. The only thing I really remembered from my previous rewatch of The Defenders is the ending. Where the building collapses on Daredevil and Elektra dies, allegedly. Maybe she'll come back in Daredevil Boarding in Season 2. And Matt is out of commission for a little while until Daredevil Season 3. I didn't remember if Alexandra made it. So, again, Sigourney Weaver, great performance. But I was getting really tired of that character. So, there was that. So in that sense, the Elektra storyline, they understood where that was going. Jessica Jones, I thought was good. I feel like that character to me has sort of a ceiling where she's just not written to be likable in a certain sense, and I think that's fine. I think that it is who she is as a character, but I think that she allowed herself, the writing allowed the character to really expand a little bit and show that she cares about the people on the team at a certain point in the show, which is good. I think that's good. Luke Cage didn't really have a whole lot to do, to be quite honest with. So I think that Mike Coulter's performance is still very over the top, corny, and cheesy and one note in terms of what he has to say and what he has to do. I did like, though, leading into Iron Fist, because I'm not saying that everyone has to make fun of Iron Fist because it's bad or the character is bad. I do think, though, that one of the things about Iron Fist in Season 1 is that he takes himself so seriously, and I did like that the characters were taking him down a peg a little bit, because it's ridiculous, right? Just the glowing Iron Fist and all that kind of stuff. It is ridiculous. That being said, the show was self-aware enough at certain points that Luke Cage was making fun of him and whatnot, and the other characters were like, what are you talking about with your chi? But then there were parts of the show where it's still Danny Rand, and it's still, I'm starting to think that, look, I don't ever want to say anything personally negative about people or actors. It's all just my own personal view on their performances and whatnot. I'm starting to think that while, yes, the writing of Iron Fist Season 1 didn't do Finn Jones any favors, it is, I think, also partly Finn Jones' delivery as the character. I think that, I don't know, right? Because you could say, I think it's very similar, actually, to Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker for me. I think the writing did him no favors at all. I also think Hayden Christensen, at the time, was probably still developing as an actor, because now, when he's given really great dialogue, and he's in all these Disney Plus shows as Anakin, I'm like, yeah, that is Anakin, right? So I love that. I do love that. I think Finn Jones, maybe if he's back now as Iron Fist, maybe it'll be the same. I don't know if he'll come back. But some of the things just really didn't work for me. But again, I love how the characters come together. I think that the parts where they're coming together at Midland Circle, and they all meet up it's great. It really feels, well, it feels earned. I like all the side characters having little supporting roles in this season. How Hogarth shows up for an episode, how Colleen is there throughout the episodes. Misty, totally forgot that she got her arm chopped off. I completely forgot about that. And you had Stick in there as well. It totally makes sense given his war with the hand. I will say, though, because a lot of these shows, except for Jessica Jones, maybe and some of Luke Cage, but Iron Fist and Daredevil were doing a lot of the heavy lifting and setting up the hand. And I will say that some of these characters feel like they're a little bit mismatched in terms of Luke Cage fighting the hand, and he's like, he acknowledges it in the show of, yeah, this is kind of weird, this is kind of crazy, I'm fighting ninjas, but we're doing it to save the city, and it's like, okay, great, that's great. But still, it still works. And I think that the character's chemistry is not nearly as dynamite as your Robert Downey Jr.'s with Chris Evans and Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson. It's not quite like that, but they have good chemistry with one another, and I think that's good as well. I like the way that the story goes. Bakuto is still insufferable to me. I cannot stand that character, and oh my goodness, I was wondering. I again forgot about it because in probably my first watch of this show, I was wondering, was he just some supporting character? I probably didn't remember at all what happened to him. And so he doesn't make it out of the show. Again, I don't wish bad on any actors or anything like that and whatnot. We're not condoning violence, but the character is insufferable to me, Bakuto. So anyways, there is that. But guys, I mean, overall, I thought that the Defenders was really solid. I was surprised. I was watching the finale, and I know that Matt Murdock, sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen Daredevil Season 3, although the last shot of the show was basically a reveal of Daredevil being alive, so it's not really a spoiler anyways. But surprisingly, even though I knew that Daredevil was coming back, I felt it in my gut. I started to tear up when you saw Foggy and Karen's reaction. It kind of goes to show you, honestly, that this show is still built off of Matt Murdock and Daredevil, because really, I mean, emotionally, that's where the crux of the show is. And when a credit to Deborah Ann Wall, credit to Eldon Henson, when you see the realization come across their faces that Matt is dead, so they think, it is devastating. I teared up. I almost cried because just it's not even the fact that I knew that he was coming back. It's just that the emotion that was written across their faces. That part in itself was really well done. So in terms of being an event season where you bring together all these storylines, I think they did about as good of a job as they could have, bringing together a pretty compelling storyline based on everything that was going on in the previous seasons. I will say, again, not all the elements meshed super well. Not all the characters felt like they really belonged in there, like Luke Cage. It just felt like it was more of a Daredevil Iron Fist kind of show, and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones were along for the ride. That being said, they were great, and their chemistry was really good with one another. And it felt like while I don't think that it was nearly as successful as the Avengers per se, I think that this was a really fun crossover event. And I think that in itself is a big win. Was a big win probably at the time when they thought they were going to be making more seasons of this, that this works. You can make more seasons of this show. And it's unfortunate that we don't get that. But probably Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is going to be a pseudo second season of Defenders. And I think that honestly is kind of exciting. So what did you guys think of Defenders, the first and only season of the show, The Defenders? Let me know in the comments down below.